There's a strange thing that happens to a lot of us. We open our phones because, of course, we want to relax. Maybe we're waiting in line. Maybe we've got a few minutes before bed. Maybe we're just checking, one thing real quick. And then we put the phone down and we feel tense, irritable, drained, sometimes even angry. And not just about one big thing, just like everything. This doesn't happen by accident. We're living in a digital world where outrage travels faster than the truth, and anger is often more rewarded than wisdom. Most of us are swimming in that water without even realizing how much it's shaping our emotions and our attention, and even the way we see other people. Today on Groundwork, we're talking about something called rage bait. What it is and why it works so well, and what it's quietly doing to us beneath the surface. And I wanted to have this conversation with someone who isn't just observing this world from the outside, but growing up inside. And that's my daughter, Ella. Ella is a high school junior, and she recently wrote an article for her school newspaper about rage bait and outrage-driven content online. But the real reason I wanted her here isn't because she's an expert. It's because she represents a generation that's never known a world where social media wasn't shaping what rises to the top of their attention. Ella, thank you for being willing to have this conversation.
Of course, anytime.
And thanks for being willing to share your perspective.
Of course.
And thanks for being my daughter.
Well, I couldn't really choose that one.
All right, let me start here. Okay. Because you didn't pick this topic because it was like trendy or because someone assigned it to you. Something stuck out to you about rage bait. What was it that made you want to tackle this topic?
So initially, I did kind of choose it because it was a little bit trendy, because there was like a phenomenon on social media about people rage baiting their friends.
Okay.
And so I wanted to look into it and see, like, is this really that serious? Is this actually affecting people? And what has rage bait been used for?
Yeah, and when you say rage bait, just to catch some of us up, what does rage bait mean?
So rage bait is when you're intentionally making someone angry because it helps you, like, get more power, engagement, and things like that.
Like social media engagement, more comments,
Yes.
and drives.
Yes. Some people, make you angry unintentionally. Like, maybe your parent gets mad at you and that makes you angry. But creators online will intentionally make content to arouse anger, and that ends up getting them more likes, more comments, more shares, and eventually more money. And when I looked into it, I realized it was actually a lot deeper than just a social media trend, and it actually, has been used by politicians, and it's just so much more impactful than a lot of people think it is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one thing that stood out to me from the article is there was a line in there where I may be getting the wording wrong a little bit, but you mentioned it can take over your mind. Mm-hmm. And that sounds dramatic, but can you talk to us a little bit about how that happens and what's the...
Yeah. So humans have a survival instinct to remember negative memories over positive ones, because if you remember the things that can kill you, you'll survive longer. So our brain naturally is wired to pick out the negative things. So when someone makes content that is mostly negative, we'll remember it more, we'll be more enticed to engage with it, comment about it, argue with people, and then we'll still be thinking about it later in the day because our brain specifically picks it out instead of something good that happened in our day.
So it's almost like anger stickier?
Yeah.
And Joy. I have a friend that I read a lot of their stuff, and they call it the Teflon concept. Mm. And like joy and peace, those just slip off like a slippery pan. But
yeah.
Do you think that's why sometimes someone might wake up at 3 a.m. and they're still
Yeah, their brain is literally programmed to remember things that are negative instead of things that are positive. You'll rarely wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, oh, that cookie tasted so good. But you'll probably remember, an argument you had. And that's why.
Have you experienced rage bait in your own life?
Yeah, It's as simple as, like, my brother messing with me.
Or dad?
Maybe. Maybe my brother's, like, poking me or making an annoying noise or something. But it can also go into, like, the things I watch on social media. Like, sometimes people will make content that is purposely, like, insulting a group, like, or saying something that is a very controversial statement, just so that they can get people arguing in the comments, like, this is wrong, you're wrong, and then they get more engagement and more money from that.
Okay.
And it can even go into, like, political tactics. And politicians purposely, instead of saying, like, what's good and why people should vote for them because they're good, they focus more on why the other candidate is bad. Because people will remember if someone did something bad instead of, like, why one candidate is good.
That's been a trend I've seen the volume turned up on throughout my adult life.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that, like, if people realize that anger is more powerful than joy, that they would choose to focus on joy more. But instead, people in power and just people who want to make money focus on the anger. And even, like, in celebrity culture, like, tabloids will specifically find controversies to focus on instead of, like, celebrating. Like, you rarely see an artist or an actor or whatever celebrated, like, oh, they got this award. You see, like, oh, they got this bad thing happen to them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we love to build people up and then tear them down, and then, oh, yay, they're coming back, and it's a comeback story. And, not so. Let's cancel them anyway.
Yeah.
Get rid of them. When you were talking, I was remembering we used to watch the news I was a kid, like on TV, and there would be like serious stuff, what's going on with different countries, but then at the end there was always something silly. The last news story was a squirrel water skiing or a dog doing tricks or something, and I'm wondering if maybe it's just less pronounced, but I'm like, they never led with the good stuff or the fun stuff, and I rarely remembered the squirrel on water skis.
Yeah, I mean, some people could think of that as like a palate cleanser, but it's also, if you get hooked on a story that's very negative and it makes you angry, you're more likely to keep watching than if you see something that you're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah.
There was a comedian that used to say she was watching the news while she was eating dinner, and they would say, what you're eating for dinner may be killing you. Details after the commercial. And she's like, is it mushy peas? This rage bait seems like a technique that's been perfected, and now it's being used like more obviously. For you and your friends, when do you spot it? Is it easy for you to spot? And in general, how do you guys react to this?
I think since we've grown up with like so much content rage baiting our parents, our grandparents, it's very easy for us as Gen Z to spot it. Like, a lot of times my friends will rage bait each other, and then we'll be like, oh, you're rage baiting. And it's become less of a serious, like, you're arousing so many emotions in me that I can't handle. And it's more almost like a joke, like, oh, you're rage baiting. And then people will say it for other things. Like, if someone is trying to seem alluring, they'll be like, oh, you're engagement baiting. And, like, the term kind of, it was something really serious to a lot of young people, but now it's more of like it tones down whatever's going on.
So it can be like that's you're bantering with me, and you call it rage baiting.
So instead of like getting really angry, you're like, you're just rage baiting me right now.
Okay. So when your friends are on whatever social media they use, TikTok or whatever, and they come across something that's clearly rage bait, what do?
Well, I think my friends specifically and myself, like, I just scroll because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this.
Okay.
Say it's like AI and I can tell it's not even real, then I'm just like, I don't care. But I know a lot of people, like, don't see the signs, especially if they didn't grow up on social media. Maybe they just got it. And so they'll, like, engage with it and get really angry. But I feel like a lot of Gen Z and just younger people in general, they're aware of how much people look at them on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're more inclined, like, never to comment or never to, like, engage. Maybe they'll send it to their friends and stuff, but
Okay.
I know for me, like, on Instagram, people can see when you comment on things.
Yeah.
And, like, if you commented on something, it'll recommend the video to your friends. And so I feel like a lot of Gen Z are very cautious about, like, commenting when they get angry. But other generations, like, they just comment, and then you see it, and you're like, whoa.
What's wrong with those millennial relatives I have? Just putting everything out there for everyone to see. That makes sense. So you're not learning the hard way. You're learning from Gen X and Boomers and Millennials before. Okay, that makes sense. So, and also, am I hearing you correctly when you spot it? Your first reaction as an individual, not saying every one of your generations does this, but it's not even worth your time. You just keep scrolling.
Yeah, I feel like this happens with a lot of younger generations. Our scrolling kind of looks like this.
Ah.
Whereas with, like, I feel like millennials and Gen X, they, like, actually watch it for, like, 5 seconds. But since we're so used to having so much content, we're just like, blah, 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 blah. And if we don't like it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I rarely watch a video the entire way through, especially if it makes me mad.
Sorry, you just broke my brain. And that explains why some of you only watch this for like 2 seconds. Okay. So, what gets you to stop?
Normally, it's when either there's something I really like or something I really hate, and then I'm trying to see if it's real.
Okay.
So sometimes if something right from the start, I can tell it's just to make me mad, scroll. But if I'm like, is this for real? Like, a lot of people will combine things to make one group angry that should be not angry.
Okay.
And then the whole video, you're trying to figure out what side they're on.
Oh.
And so you're like...
Sneaky.
Yeah, you're like, are you for this or are you against this? And so you're, like, enticed to watch the whole video because you're not sure if you should be mad or not, or if you're on their side.
That sounds to me like Rage Bait 2.0 or the sneaky version.
Yeah.
Should I be mad at this? That's where the tension is. Do I agree with this or not? Okay. And so this hasn't happened. I want all of our viewers, listeners to know, well, at least as far as I know, it hasn't happened. But let's say hypothetically, you get something forwarded to you by one of your older relatives, or wiser, as I like to say. And it's clearly AI, it's clearly rage bait. Someone just made this up to get more clicks. What does that do for you? Like, what do you think, and what do you do with it?
It depends, because sometimes I don't want to fight, so I'm just like, okay. But, I feel like if it was serious and I could tell someone I really loved believed something that was so obviously not true, I would maybe point out, like, hey, there's 6 fingers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Have you drank a lot of water today? Have you gone outside today? Maybe I wouldn't say it in that way.
So that's why you were asking me those questions the other day. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I feel like the root of rage bait is really just not being involved in the real world.
Okay.
And so when people, not just adults and like older generations, get involved in it, I think the first step is like taking a look back and realizing like that's not your whole world. Your world is everywhere except for your phone. And if something's making you mad, there's no reason why you keep having to look at your phone.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's wisdom right there. And I want to come back to that in just a second. I remembered in your article, there was another part that stood out because you're a great writer, and I'm not just saying that because you're my kid, but you mentioned about making sure or being intentional about uplifting certain voices. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, so the way that most algorithms work is whatever is engaged with the most, and not just likes, but like also comments, also shares, is what's pushed out to more people. So if you engage with things that are negative or that make you angry because you send them to someone or you comment on it, it'll be pushed to more people. But if you're engaging with something positive, and maybe you only like it, you don't comment, you don't share it or anything, it won't be pushed to as many people. And so more negative content will be spewed than positive. And so because of that, you need to almost like triple your engagement with positive content in order to push it out to other people.
Okay, and it's going to sound silly, but I really like chimpanzees.
Uh-huh.
I love it when they show up in my feed, so I need to double down on that if I want to get more of those. And if I want less, obviously, just generated political content that stresses me out, I don't engage with it. Is there anything else I can do other than ignore it to, like, tweak my algorithm?
You can block the person who made it.
Okay.
You can, there's always, like, a thing that says, like, not interested or don't recommend this to me. Or you can just scroll.
Just keep going. That's also a legitimate method. Or if I'm like you, I scroll.
Get this whole thing. You just refresh it.
You were impersonating me scrolling like this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, that's really helpful. Okay, I want to get back to the practical here, and I said we were going to come back to this. I would like for you to take a moment, just look into the camera and speak to someone who finds themselves in that spot often. They're angry about everything, and maybe they're just now have words for it. They're realizing, I've been rage baited. Can you give just some practical advice on how to pull out of that so they can actually get on with their life and they're not consumed with it?
Yeah, if you feel like you're being rage baited, the best step to take is to disengage with whatever was bringing you to that rage. And I didn't mean to rhyme, but I just did.
It's good. You're a pastor's kid. That's good.
So go outside, read a book. If something political is making you angry, read like something that makes you happy. Read the Bible, read the Chronicles of Narnia. You could go outside, you could make coffee, you could make cupcakes, you could play with your dog, you could text someone that you love. You can do anything else except for engaging in what was making you angry. And anytime that something is continuing to make you angry, the best thing you can do is to just get it out of your life.
It reminds me of like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. One of the definitions. So, yeah, that makes sense. And I really appreciate you educating us on what rage bait means. And the word bait stood out to me from fishing, hunting, bait. It's how you catch something. Can you talk to us more about what happens to somebody in their life, in their real world life? What happens to people who take the bait?
When you take the bait, you're stuck. Your brain is focused on that one negative thing that's making you angry. And so you're kind of trapped in this cycle of engaging with it. And then the algorithm pushes more content to that. And then you engage with it even more. And then you're in this cycle of anger and negativity. And that can also be pushed onto your family life. Maybe you become more snappy. You become less interested in doing things that normally you would like because you're just so focused and you're so stressed about the things that make you angry.
Yeah, and I can only imagine getting in that spiral of anger and rage for a developing brain. And it has real world complications. It's not just bad content, but it sounds to me like it can damage your emotional health and physical relationships. So
yeah, I mean, if you're constantly thinking about something that makes you angry, instead of thinking about something that you like, of course you're going to treat people badly. And instead of, being polite, maybe you're at a restaurant or maybe you're at a store, instead of being polite, you might be thinking about something angry, and then you treat someone unkindly, and then they become angry, and then they treat someone unkindly, and then it creates like a ripple effect of negativity.
When I hear you talk, it's almost like a hyperlinks go off in my brain of the Apostle Paul writing to new believers saying, set your minds on things above, or fill your minds with everything that's good and pure and true and right and excellent and praiseworthy. Think about those things.
It's ancient truth. Like, we've been told in the Bible, and ancient, like, philosophies have preached about focusing on the things that you care about and the things that are positive and that improve your life. Because, of course, if something bad is happening, it's important to try to fix it. But just arguing with people for no reason isn't fixing it.
And it also makes me think of the writer of Hebrews talks about provoking. And they use that word, provoke one another to good works. So it makes me want to double down on my algorithm, so I find the people who will provoke me to do good works too.
On that topic, there's been a new trend called joy baiting.
Okay.
Where people, and this isn't as popular as rage baiting,
Of course.
but people will, like, go up to random people in stores or in public spaces, and they'll just, like, compliment them and be, like, super nice to them. And then the person will be like, oh my gosh, like, what? Okay.
I want to get in on that trend. I like that.
Yeah, like, people will go up to, like, grandmas in stores and twirl them around and be like, you look beautiful today, and give them flowers. And it's like, although that's amazing, that content isn't pushed to people because most of the time people aren't going to comment about that. They're not going to get into, like, heated things into the replies. And it's amazing, but it's not really as well known as rage bait.
Yeah, unless someone gets in the comments and says, how dare you twirl someone that you don't even know, they could have fallen and they didn't sign a waiver.
Exactly.
And, okay, I'm catching on. Okay. Ella, I've had the privilege of watching you manage your own social media, and I'm really proud of you for how you do that, because I've seen you intentionally take breaks from social media, monitor your screen time, and I love hearing you talk about how you'll just sidestep what could be a lot of drama, and you just keep swimming, just keep scrolling on by. There's so many people that don't in your generation and also other generations too. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of people don't have the tools to know what to do when they get angry. And maybe if they're younger, they're used to playing video games. And when they get angry, they just have to keep trying and trying until they beat the level. And so a lot of people forget that social media is real people. Yeah. And you can't beat the level. This is a real person you're arguing with, and both of you want to be right. It's not like a robot that you can win against. And for older generations, like, who didn't grow up with social media and maybe not as much technology, it's when you have an argument with someone in real life, normally at some point you get tired and you're just like, whatever. But on social media, you can go days arguing with someone because it's always there. The internet never turns off. It never goes to sleep. And so it's so easy to get stuck in it.
You get that nice little hit when they fire back, and then you can fire back,
Yeah.
and then 7 hours later, okay.
Yeah.
I'm seeing. Okay, thank you for that. So as we head back into our scrolling and our conversations here on social media, I want to leave you with this reminder. You are not powerless. You don't have to react to every provocation. And you don't have to carry every outrage that passes in front of you. And I know these days it seems like there's a lot of them. Your attention is sacred. And what you linger on will eventually shape you. Something or someone is always trying to shape what you think, what you want, and what you feel. And what you amplify will shape the world around you. So may you choose curiosity over contempt. May you disengage from what drains your soul, and may you lift up the voices that heal rather than harm. And may you scroll with wisdom and courage and hope, knowing that even small choices can help bend the culture toward what is good. I'm Mike Collins. We'll see you next time on Groundwork.